All right, it's Glenn Murdoch here from the Life Coaching College, interviewing the wonderful Sandy Colombo here today. Sandy, I can see something in your hands down there. Give me a quick look and see what it is. So we've got Superheroes Eat Frogs Instead of Kissing Them, the brand new book from you. Let me ask you a couple of questions. First of all, what is the book about?
The book is about my journey from anxiety, a very unexpected journey that I had years ago when I returned from work with two preschool aged children. So back to full-time work, and this is my story about that.
And so the outcome for the book is about helping people that have got anxiety? Is that what you were looking to do? Yeah, cool.
One of the things that I found when I had anxiety, once I got over the initial part of it, I was 80% well, but I found the difficulty between 80% and 100% well. And I couldn't find anything that was story-based about what people had gone through. So that's what I've done in the book.
And when would be a good time to read it? So say I'm sitting out there and I'm thinking, wow, I feel anxious or I've got some other things that might lead me to thinking I've got anxiety. When would be a good time for me to get my hands on something like this?
I suppose for me, I didn't even realise that I had anxiety. I just felt that that something wasn't right. I couldn't put my finger on it. So suppose if you're having those sorts of feelings, that would be a great time to read a book like this.
Sure.
But also would be on the other end, after I realised I had anxiety and I wanted to become 100% anxiety free, that would be also a time to read the book.
And is that's the expectation if someone reads? Well, I guess even more than that, if the expectation is to become anxiety free, how do you do that in a book? What kind of content is in there for me to be able to achieve that?
Okay, so part of the reason why I think I found it difficult to become anxiety free was because I couldn't find any story based. So this is a very personal journey. These are my stories, and they're underlaid with information from my life coaching experience of how to rid that negative thinking, because it really is just a negative thinking. Although at the time that you're in it, you really don't think that's the case.
Okay, and just a little sideways. So you said your life coaching experience. Now, obviously, I know because you've been coaching with us. How do you think that the book brings that coaching to the fore? What kind of things within coaching have you put into the book?
Well, by giving my actual story of how I felt at the time, I've then looked at it from a coaching perspective, and it would have been a very different book had I not done the life coaching.
Okay.
It may have been a little bit more about he said, she said, or they did, and I may have not taken as much responsibility for having the anxiety in the first place, and I think that's what life coaching taught me.
And as you look at it, which is your favourite section? What part of the book do you love the most?
Ask me that. Probably the final words at the very end is my favourite part, because I wrote that once I received the book as a proof, and I realised that I'm still a work in progress. I had doubts about actually releasing the book, which was interesting because I was almost back at the beginning again of feeling that it wasn't good enough to put out there.
Do me a favour, hold up the book sideways to the camera and give it a bit of a flick. It's a substantial book.
415 pages.
How long did it take you to write it?
Over a period of time, I wrote as I was actually going through a lot of the anxiety, that once I was sort of 80% well.
So like a journal, or?
As things would happen, I would just get them out there and write stories about it. And then so that probably took around 3 or 4 years of writing.
Wow.
And then a lot of the stories never made it, but a lot did. So.
And is that what it's I guess a book full of stories and metaphors that you've gone through
actually my life story, really.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Spanning how long? All the 21 years, or?
Now I love you, Glenn. That's my dad on the front cover with me.
Oh, wow.
And the story is really from when I was a little girl all the way through. Chops and changes. A lot of middle years aren't there, but certainly my teenage years.
Beautiful. So it's your journey just the whole way through.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, as you were writing it, did you have an outcome? Like, did you think, I want someone to read this and skip their way through these years, or was it about just getting the story out? What was the real end outcome for it?
I think the end outcome for me was to actually help anybody that has had anxiety or is dealing with anxiety, to say that a lot of the people that I've spoken to who have had anxiety and panic attacks don't realise that they're having it. And I was the same. I didn't realise that there was something wrong. There's a point in the book where a friend of mine says to me, Sandy, this isn't normal. You're feeling like this. And I wasn't going to jump off a bridge or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I certainly felt that if this is life, is really, is this it? And it was that feeling and someone actually telling me that was really important. And I feel that this book will explain that, maybe give some warning signs to people that are feeling that, of where am I going, what's happening. So you don't need to be experiencing panic attacks or anxiety to read it.
Yeah. Gutsy effort, I think, to put it all out there in a book and let people know your story. If I was watching this video and thinking, how do I know who to buy the book for? So say I don't feel like I have anxiety, but maybe I know someone who might. What kind of triggers would I be looking for to think, hey, maybe I could buy Sandy's book and that might help the person out?
It's an interesting thing, because when I look back, there were certain really big signs that I didn't see. One would be just everything feeling a bit dull. Sleepless nights would be a big one.
Yeah.
Or fearing the nighttime. For me, I feared nighttime coming.
Really?
And it's not accepting those things, or starting to accept those things as being really normal.
Yeah.
That starts that process. And then once you start accepting that, I'm feeling nervous about it being, nighttime, for example, then it just grows and grows because you give into it.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at giving it to friends or people that may be experiencing anxiety, or you may think they are, you may be more aware of it than they are.
Okay, and do you find people will usually use that word? Will they say, I feel anxious, or do they not really know how to define it?
I didn't know. I didn't know what I had.
Yeah,
I just thought it was, 30-something, 2 little kids, returning to work full-time in a stressful job. I didn't understand that I actually had anxiety. And I remember when I first found out that I did have it, actually feeling relieved that I wasn't going crazy.
Yeah. How are you now? Can I ask?
110%.
Yeah, what's
fantastic.
changed?
It was interesting when I read this book and I'm about to, release it. I almost had a sleepless night.
Wow.
Almost. But it was a little bit restless, but it wasn't sleepless. And I think it's just being in control of your mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 110%. You are exactly, you are what you're feeding your mind.
How did you know that it was time? So it was time to, I know you'd been writing the whole way through. How did you know it was time to actually get ballsy, put it together and get it out there? What was the trigger for that?
Probably you, because you said something about writing a book. And I had this manuscript that because we'd renovated our house a couple of years ago and my father had passed away and all these things had happened, I'd thrown it in the bottom of my wardrobe. And I remember that night after you said that, going and finding it and thinking, oh gee, I have written quite a lot, what's in here? And then sitting down and reading what I'd written, certainly had to be rewritten in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But it was certainly something that I sort of felt was unfinished.
Yeah.
So I wanted to complete the loop and make
Good
sure that
on
it was
you.
finished.
I like that. What were the hurdles? What were the hardest things to overcome in the actual writing process?
In the writing process,
or to get that book in front of you, I guess. So the process from you had all this stuff to then say, wow, I want it to be a book.
I would think the self-publishing part was the easiest.
Okay.
And I thought that might have been the hardest.
Yeah.
Probably just the time it takes to read it and reread it, and then have other people read it and reread it. Now I'm really, I want to say anxious, but I'm not anxious. I'm really keen for it to be out.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess I'm listening to it thinking, if you can just change one person's life by sharing your story, then job done, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I actually gave the manuscript to a friend of mine who has also suffered from anxiety, and asked her, you know, would you have a look and read it and see what you think? And she texted me the next morning and said, I couldn't put it down.
Oh, wow.
And I went,
that's brilliant,
oh,
isn't it?
thank you. Because it is very, you know, nerve-wracking, as you say, to put all of that out there. And they are personal stories, so it's not just a self-help book.
You talk about personal stories. I guess the million-dollar question is, did you need to consider the feelings of the other people who might be...
now we're getting to my night that I didn't sleep.
Yeah. Are they called Joe Bloggs, or do you reference them as who they are? Or
most of the people I have changed their names.
Okay.
However, if you read the book and you knew me, you would know who they are.
Okay.
Obviously, with family, can't do that, so I refer to my father and my sister. They were probably the two people that I had the most difficult time setting boundaries with.
Yeah.
So they are in the book.
Have they read it?
Well, my father passed away.
Okay.
And my sister, no, has not read it.
Should we go there? Will she get a copy, or we're not going to worry about that?
Perhaps for Christmas.
Maybe for Christmas.
No, just joking. The circumstances in the book, no person's an island. I mean, I'm interacting with people. We all are interacting with people all of the time. Therefore, to explain the situation of what happened, other people have to be involved in the book to explain how I felt. I thought about taking certain aspects of it out as not to refer to them. However, the book wouldn't have made sense, and it wouldn't have been a true account of how I got where I was going. So I believe that in order to tell the story, there has to be certain stories in it about my anxiety.
Yeah, sure. And I guess there's, it's quite cathartic doing that. There's an opportunity to be able to go through the process and think about everything that had happened to you and reflect on your life. And, when it's real, I think people are going to get the raw emotion, aren't they?
Absolutely. And I also think that it's my view. It's my personal view. I'm sure there could be 5 other books written and they would all have different views. And I was concerned at one point after reading the book that it is negative. It's quite negative in some points, but that's what anxiety does to your thinking.
Yeah.
And therefore, the stories that I've chosen to tell are stories that directly impacted the anxiety and the panic attacks that fed into that. There were heaps of wonderful people around me at the time, including my friend Andrew, who was the one who said to me, Sandy, this is not okay, you're thinking. I just couldn't hear them. I couldn't hear all those fabulous people because I was just in such a negative spiral of negative thinking.
Did you enjoy writing it? Like the actual process? Was it something that you enjoyed, or was it pretty tough to go through all that again?
My childhood wasn't ideal, so it was quite difficult to go through writing some of it. It also reminded me, it brought those things back into my mind again, which was interesting. When you write a story and you read about, or you're reading it back about your childhood, you start remembering it, so you start talking about things. And I was talking about things to my kids that I hadn't spoken to them about before. And one of them said, where's all this coming from about your childhood? And I realised because I kept reading the book, which is another learning curve, really, that what's in your head is happening. So really interesting.
Has hubby read it?
Halfway through. Can you believe that?
Okay. How long has he had it in his hands for? We're
Too
not,
long,
we're not even going to go there, Sandy.
No, he was gorgeous. He said to me, "I don't need to read any of this because I just know you, and I know whatever you write will be fine by me."
Cool.
There is a little bit about our life and our children as well.
Yep.
And I asked both of my boys whether it was okay if I put that information in. They're 11 and almost 15. They
right.
said yes.
Cool.
How they'll feel in 10 or 15 years about that, I'm not sure. But I can't let those sorts of things worry you. So
They'll be proud, I'm sure. Super proud. You've given them the opportunity to express themselves as well.
well, they may decide to write their own books.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious, when you got that in your hot little hands, how did you feel?
Oh, excited. And in fact, it's like my teddy bear around the house. Somebody will say, "You haven't got your book, Mum," and they'll go and get it and give it to me.
That's
so,
cute.
yeah, I don't like to not know where it is.
Really good. Sandy, I'm assuming that it's going to be available for people to grab hold of.
Absolutely.
If they follow the link that's sort of in and around near this video, they should be able to buy it directly.
Absolutely. They can buy a hard copy or they can download it. as
Cool.
well.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for chatting, and I hope the sale of the book goes well. I'm glad that you really enjoyed going through the process.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Sandy.